Oh, that's the other thing is,
You gotta say things
I
like
think Joe
bada
Rogan
bing. Uh huh.
does it sometimes where they'll be like, "Oh, we're recording." He's like, "Yeah, we're already going," and they'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
snap!" But I think he does like they'll talk and then they'll be like, "Let's do it." The other one with what's his name from Nerdist? He's the
Yeah, I
talking
always
head.
forget
Can't
his
think of his
name.
name.
I don't know, I always forget his name.
But he'll like have the whole podcast set up before the person even comes to the room, and they'll be like talking, and they'll come into the
Oh
podcast
yeah,
will
yeah, yeah.
start
It's
with you
rolling.
hearing them come into the
Coming
room.
into the room and be like, "Oh, hi, how are you today? Oh, I'm good."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's
It's
interesting.
kind of voyeuristic, isn't it? Though I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like the whole coming into the room thing. I like sitting down and talking, and then be like, "Oh yeah, we just started the podcast right now." Like I kind of prefer that way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's kind of
I also
awkward.
think a lot of people need a little bit of a warm up.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
especially
why
because there
like
may be some of that awkwardness, and you don't want that. Like, I've never met you. Like, I kind of am impressed by you. You just walked into my studio, or vice versa. Maybe they're excited to meet you. You know what I mean? There's going to be that weird awkwardness, and you kind of want to iron some of that out. Obviously, not too much. I think like Joe Rogan, he likes to just kind of roll with that though. Sometimes I feel like he feels like they come in with an energy, but also there's other times you could tell where they've done stuff ahead of time. They've had shots or
I
smoked
well,
or
he'll like
something.
mention it in the middle of some of his podcasts. I know there's one where he was saying like they were talking for like
Hours, yeah. I saw that one. It was when he
they
was
were
talking
talking for like
to.
20 minutes or something before they
Oh, but no, I thought you said
whatever.
there was one where he went to lunch and everything, and then they just did the podcast. Was that with
I I think there's
Gaffigan?
one he
I
did.
don't know, something.
I don't
I
know.
can't
I think he
remember.
does that with his friends sometimes.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah,
one
yeah.
where they'll be like, "Oh, we're going in, blah blah blah, and do our
Ooh,
thing." Anyway, I think we're good to start it, right? Yeah.
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, absolutely.
I do not have a nickname for you today, so
Fail.
hello and welcome to the Eric Hunter podcast. My name's Eric, and I'm here with my co-host Jared Nye.
Wow, sad.
I really don't have
Sad.
one.
That was flat. I thought, like, even under pressure, you were gonna shine and pull one through, but
No.
you just
Oh
were
my
like,
God, no.
basically you belly flopped. Like you've got everyone's attention. You're on the high dive, right? Everybody's staring at you, and you're going down. You're like, okay, it's ugly, it's ugly. He's gonna pull it. Oh, it was a belly flop.
Belly flop. You know what it
Like,
was? You know what it was? Because I was thinking I'm gonna go through this and then blah blah blah, blah and just
it's just gonna come out. It's gonna come out,
I'm gonna
and
get one. I'm gonna
nothing,
get one.
nada.
But if I knew definitely nothing was gonna come out, I would have just went with and my co-host Jared Nye, you know. But I stopped.
Right.
Jared didn't set it up, and I was like,
You're like,
oh, oh what is it?
it's gotta be there, man. It's gotta be something, anything, nothing.
It was nothing.
Hey, man.
I used to. Let me see if I have any.
Did you have a list written down years ago, back when we
I
started?
did. I made a list because I would like randomly think of
Come up
ones,
with ones,
and
yeah.
then yeah, I would randomly think of like one or two, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I would be like, what was that? And I just literally be like, I'll just start writing them down. So I had a list somewhere.
I was
I think I saw
listening
the list, and I was like, I haven't recorded a podcast in forever.
to
Throw that away.
chuck that. Oh, fail. I see where your heart is. I would have treasured it.
No,
Probably would have been
actually,
hung on a wall, framed.
honestly, I think I saw it. It was there. It was the listing. They're all crossed out, and I was like, oh, I
You're
blew
like,
through my ideas.
I need more. Yeah, I was
Let's
listening to
see.
Jim Gaffigan and Joe Rogan talk because they both do stand up, and he was talking about that they'll get an idea and they literally just have to like start writing it. And Joe Rogan says like he literally his wife, he gets it. He's just like, oh, got an idea. And he just takes off because he's got to just start writing it. If he tries to have a conversation or politely leave, he'll lose it. He's like, it's like a lightning in a bottle sometimes. Jim
He
Gaffigan said
leaves to
it's
have a
the same way.
conversation. Like he'll leave the room to write down his
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah. Like say he's at the dinner table and he's just got to write it down. Sometimes he'll just bloop. Or sometimes he said he'll just be there on his phone and she'll think he's ignoring him or her or whatever, and he'll just put up his finger and she'll like, and then
Oh,
he'll know like, oh, he's writing down like part of his gig and stuff. It's really interesting. I've always kind of fancied the idea of stand-up comedy. Thought it would be kind of fun to try and stuff. It's just interesting listening to the people that make it big though, because they literally are hitting clubs all the time. Just because they got to keep it fresh, it keeps it alive. I guess it's something that they just
I
literally
like
do all the
listening
time.
to Joe Rogan talk about stand up like that. He makes.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger or whatever, I was a goofy kid of my parents, and people would be like, "Oh, you'd be a good comedian, you'd be a good stand-up." And I never really made anything of it. But like then listening to Joe Rogan like talk about it, like I don't know, that sounds like a fun little craft because when he talks
Yeah.
about it, it's like this is my craft and honing the craft.
Yeah, no, that's what it
Just makes
is.
me think about it, and it's like really interesting because the way he does it and the way he likes it, he likes working on the comedy, and he says he goes to the things, you work on this joke, and you kind of see what is there and he isn't there, and you tell it like a story, and sometimes this will fall flat, and this other thing you just kind of threw in there to like fill time that like really works. So you'd be like, oh, okay, and then that becomes the joke and stuff. I was like, it's really interesting. I
Yeah.
was like,
I think
and then
most of
he's
the greats do it that way. I watch that comedians in cars getting
not
coffee.
really.
I said most of the
I saw,
greats. So Jerry, that's how Jerry does it. Jerry Seinfeld, and I would argue that
yeah,
he's
he's a,
easily one of the greats. But that's how Jerry
well,
Seinfeld does it as well. And he talks to a lot of comedians. Brian Regan is one of his close buddies. He was saying it's a lot of the same thing too, where they try it out, they take it out for show. Joe Rogan was just
hmm
talking with Jim again about it. Jim Gaffigan saying that Dave Chappelle does that all the time. He says you can always catch Dave Chappelle. Like he's always at a club somewhere trying to cut his teeth. Since he's come back, he had that time where he took a break. Dave Chappelle's back. If you guys don't know, he's back. But a lot of the greats, I guess, not all of them, but a lot of the greats, it's a timing thing. George Carlin had his scripts. He would have them completely written out where he'd want the emphasis, everything. Like, they would memorize it. Same with, again, Seinfeld. He literally has every single thing every joke he's ever said, ever told. It's all written down, and he has them in all these files and everything. And sometimes he'll
I know
rearrange
I
them and
saw it on
reuse them.
he has like a Netflix
Yeah, comedians in
movie
cars
or
getting
something.
coffee.
No,
Oh,
not
you're
his
talking
TV
about
show.
the
He has like a
the Jerry documentary. Yeah, it was just called
yeah.
Jerry
There's one scene
Seinfeld, I
in there
think.
where he has all those papers and it's all just spread out
Yeah,
and all
spread
the
out around him. Yeah,
whatever.
that was a good picture. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
so he's one of the ones that does that as well. But anyway,
yeah.
so a
No, I
lot of
was
them.
saying because I remember Joe Rogan says he likes to do like specials because he's like once you do a special then you can't really do that material anymore because everybody's seen it and it's like
Yeah,
it's an old joke so you have to create a new thing and you keep on going through and it's like really fresh and whatever. And then I remember seeing some interview with Jay Leno who's like, why don't you have any specials? He's like, oh, because I've been using the same like stand-up routine since 1970 because I don't
no,
have to change it any.
that
I
no, that
was like,
was
what?
no, that was actually the podcast. It was Joe Rogan and Jay Leno. That was literally the conversation they had. Jay Leno said,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and Jay Leno said he didn't like that because not only that, but he always wanted to know where his joke was at. He wanted to know where it was. He says if it's out there for everyone to just play at whimsy, and he doesn't know where it's at, he doesn't really control it. It's not his own anymore. But when he's the one that's telling it, then he owns it. He knows where it's at. That's how he says it. It was really interesting. It was a podcast with Jay Leno. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he might get a pass because he had like the Tonight Show, and I'm pretty sure he had his monologues. Sure, he had writers, but I'm pretty sure he did a lot of
Oh
his
no, he
jokes
he
there
did
too.
most of
So
it too, but he also felt very crippled by the whole industry. He really likes the fact that he's out of it now. He feels like um, it's just a very crippling. He says you're just a giant promoter. That's all you're on there to do. You're just on there to here's the movie we have to sell. Here's the band we have to
yeah,
sell. You're
yeah.
not having conversations with people. I think that's what's interesting about the whole podcast formula in general, and almost of the whole way society's going with a
Because
lot
you
of
are
stuff.
having conversations with people.
That's all it is.
It
It's
was,
just a big, giant, long conversation, and they're huge.
I
Everybody
know.
wants
It was
that.
Yeah. Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, but he had Robert Downey Jr. on recently,
Yeah.
and I know he only had him on because they were promoting his like little Doctor Dolittle movie or whatever.
Yeah, I think that bombed in America.
Yeah, well, Robert Downey Jr. said something about like he was starting his run, or he's going to start his run, or something with the Joe Rogan podcast. Basically, he was saying like his promotional whatever thing where he's going on. He started it with Joe Rogan, so you could tell he was there. Like the reason his agent booked all that whatever was to promote Doctor Dolittle, but the actual podcast itself was like maybe they talked about that movie for like maybe like 5-10 minutes maybe out of like an hour long conversation. It was really just like hey, what's going on? Oh, like tell me how about acting and just like a
Yeah.
conversation,
Right.
you know.
And I
And
think
it
that's why Joe Rogan is as good as he is at it too, though, is because he does just turn it into a conversation. He does kind of steer it away from people who want to come in and do their same shtick that they do everywhere. Like I watched him do Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder's a very wing conservative YouTube star. He's the one that does the change my mind videos, all that stuff. And it's
yeah.
interesting because when he would start getting too much into the whole rhetoric of what he normally does, Joe Rogan would just be like, man, calm down, calm down. What's this, us? And he'd just kind of pull him back out and just bring him back to hey, let's just have a conversation like we're just guys in a room. And I like that about Rogan. I think he does a
I
really
saw
good
some clip
interviewing
of
job.
their conversation. It looked like they were kind of button heads a little bit or
A
something.
little bit, but no, they were good by the end. It's, I mean, Steven Crowder can just kind of get confrontational at the time. Plus, he's always feels like he's under attack, which, whatever. But what I like is just that Joe Rogan is really good at controlling the conversation by not even controlling it, but he's good at bringing it back and just bringing it back to, hey, we're just having a conversation. This isn't for our
What I
audience.
like
This is just we're
is
hanging out, man.
he's really good at I don't know if the what word I'm looking for here. I can only think of like empathizing, but that's not a word. Like relating to
Hmm.
his guest and stuff, and like making them feel comfortable. Because I've seen ones where specifically, I'm thinking about. He did this whole thing about the movie The Game Changers and whatever. But he had one podcast where he talked to this one guy where they just trashed the movie, like how it's stupid. It's all about, for people who don't know, it's a movie about athletes and like high performance athletes, whatever, switching over to an all vegan diet and how this all vegan diet is preferred over eating meat for athleticism.
Right, right,
And he's
right.
saying it's stupid. He's like, I'm not saying that you can't be a vegan and be an athlete. You can, but it's a lot harder. And I don't think it's better. Like, it's not necessarily the better whatever thing, but that's what the movie is trying to say. So he went on and he had some guests, then they just sat there and talked about how this movie was just incorrect and it had all of its wrong, whatever thing. And then he had a follow up podcast where he had one of I think it was a producer from the movie, like one of the people who actually made the movie on the podcast. And yeah, I was like, oh man, he's gonna like tear into this guy, but he didn't. It was more of like like just trying to understand where he's coming from, kind of thing.
Right.
It's just
Yeah,
a
and
good way
and
of not making people feel attacked. I think. I don't know.
no, I agree. And again, it's because you turn it into a conversation. It's just two people conversing. And I think that's a lot of what's missing in society in general right now is just the fact that we're all on the internet. So it's easy to say and be and do and act what you are. It's a little different when you're sitting across the table and we have eye contact to say, do,
I,
and be some of those
I,
things. And I think that's what a lot of people, that's why podcasts are big because they want that connection, but we don't have it. There's an interesting line
yeah.
in the movie Crash. I don't know if you ever saw it years ago, but
Yes.
it,
Yes.
it,
Yes.
it
Yes.
says that he feels like the reason they crash into each other is because there's that loss of connectivity to people, and you just need some sort of impact, some sort of connection with another person. That's why accidents are so high. It's kind of whimsical in a neat theory, but I think it's kind of the same reason why like
I
these
think.
podcasts and stuff hit off is people yearn for this, but it's not there. It's our quick clips, it's our Instagrams, it's our
Yeah.
yelling at people on Facebook, and they yearn for this, and I feel like this is probably why it's a pretty big genre.
Yes. I have a lot to like say
Yeah,
about that. Oh
unwrap
my
there. Yeah,
god.
go ahead.
No, but yeah, no, I agree. I think people behind computer screens or phone screens or tablet screens or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
screen
sure.
they're talking. It's like everybody isn't a real person, so they say whatever they want. But
Right.
somebody has a good quote, and I can't remember who it was or where it got referenced, and I don't even remember the quote very well. But it was something along the lines of, like, it's really hard to be angry in person. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
if you get angry at somebody on a Facebook post, it's really easy to just sit there and talk trash. But let's just say you're like sitting down in person and somebody says the exact same thing, and you're just sitting there staring at them, it's really hard to say whatever kind of trash talk you were about to say because that's an actual person. You're probably going
Right.
to have a lot more of a civil conversation there.
Exactly.
And I do agree with the whole like people feeling disconnected and wanting to just looking for a way to connect because More and more every day, people spend more time behind screens, and I feel like everybody, in a way, just feels a little disconnected. And
Oh, most
humans in
definitely.
general are super social creatures. So going back in our whole ancestry, regardless of
Hmm.
where you believe we originated from, there's no denying we've been very social creatures, and that's kind of fading away from our society. I mean, we're very social with social media, but actual face-to-face conversations is getting minimalized. I remember seeing something with, or reading something about, I can't think of his name, Paul, something guy who wrote Fight Club.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell it to you off the top of my head. Sorry.
I think it's Paul Chuck or Chuck Paul Chuck P something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, I'm so bad.
That was awesome.
Oh,
Love it. Thank you.
I think it's like Chuck Paul or Paul but
Yeah, but
he
I don't know how you would
apparently.
spell that. I hope Google translates that. But go ahead. I cracked
I don't
myself up.
know. Oh, Chuck Palahunic.
Oh
He's got
gosh,
a
you're
crazy
still
last name. It's
trying.
spelled. Yeah, well, I just looked it up. It's
Oh,
Chuck Palahniuk. So however you spell that, I'm sorry. I mean to say that.
slaughtered
Um.
his name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, whatever.
it's okay.
I. The whole point of my story is gone now. It's just about
Oh,
how I don't know how to
it's
say names. But
it's
no, my,
accurate.
my my point was I remember seeing something where he was talking about, I think it was writing his new book at the time, which was Choke or something like that, and he had
Yeah.
his father had just died or something. He was going through a hard time and he was driving and he's just pulled over to the side of the road and he got out of his car and he just laid down in the road and he was waited until somebody came and somebody came by and they stopped and they went over to him like, oh, don't worry, you'll be okay, everything's going to be okay. And the only reason he did that because there's some issue with him, they thought, but he's
Hmm.
like, and I just did it because I just needed to hear somebody say it was going to be okay. like
Wow.
like he was doing some crazy stuff just because he needed that connection, like somebody to just be there to say, you know it'll be okay. And somebody
Interesting.
saying that to you is going to be a lot more meaningful than just, oh, you got a text. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
so
true.
yeah, I think people strive for that connection, and sometimes they do really weird and goofy things just to get it.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I would agree with that. And I think that's why I don't know. It's hard because you mentioned that we are social, and I agree with that, but at the same time, we're also tribalistic by nature. So this all of a sudden we're thrust upon this global stage with the internet. You know what I mean? We're heard all around the world. Not us. We're not popular. Nobody cares.
I
But
mean,
you know, I
we
mean,
could be. I
I
mean,
mean,
anybody around the world has access to this podcast, and
sure,
if they don't,
abs
let them know. I heard about your
exactly. Come check it
podcast.
out. Right. And so now there's this global approach, and so we're trying to, yeah, not step on people's feet, but at the same time, we're so tribalistic. It's like, that's why we have teams. That's why we have sports. We've gone into stuff like this before, but I just feel like so sometimes trying to now live on this big global stage and present ideas to the entire world, and
People
it's
still
just
try
too
to find
hard.
ways to find their tribe, man. Everybody wants to be a part of a smaller group. They don't want to be lost in the big mess of things.
Yeah, right.
It's funny that you're talking about that because earlier, um, what was it? So I have a daughter, I have a stepdaughter, and I have a stepson, right?
Yes.
And the oldest one, the girl,
Hmm.
she said something, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like, no, us girls like to watch no, it was about YouTube videos or whatever. It's like, oh no, boys don't watch that. Girls like this. That's just us girls like to watch these types of videos or something.
Hmm.
And for some reason in my mind, I was thinking about, man, all these people that are like trying to separate, like, oh, boys can play with dolls if they want to, and I'll blur all these lines between these groups. So I was like, no, like if you stop and like watch a kid, they want to be part of a group or something. And she was just like,
Sure.
setting themselves apart as you're a kid. You don't really have that much to separate each other from. So obviously you're gonna be like, oh, boys versus girls, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So she was grouping herself in the whole girl thing, and I just thought it's weird because today's everybody like the super liberal like people are trying to broaden everybody's like broaden or I want to say broaden the horizon, but everybody's get rid of all these labels and everything. But I mean, okay, boomer, you know what I mean? Like they're still
Hmm.
trying to separate themselves from other people, even though they're still trying to make everybody like the same. It's just interesting.
I mean,
I'm not really
it's that tribalistic.
articulating this very good, but I'm just saying, like, even when we're trying to make everybody one big happy family, you still are gonna find something to say this is my group
Yeah.
of people.
The other thing again, it's the one we're tribalistic, two trying to live on a global scale doesn't I think work because of that tribalistic nature. But also, there's no such thing as one big happy family. Have you ever been to any family reunion? Everybody gets along and likes everybody? No, that doesn't happen. I
Right?
don't know what families you guys hang out with. That doesn't happen anywhere. So if it can't even happen in something as central and based around as a family unit, which should have roughly the same core beliefs, thoughts, goals in life, uh, you're trying to magnify that times 7 billion people, and you think that somehow is going to work and we're going to find a utopia. I Man, it doesn't work in close quarters with blood. Why is it going to work on a global scale? And I think people forget that sometimes. It's a great idea. I love the idea of utopia. It'd be wonderful and blissful. It's not reality. You know what I mean?
I think everybody should treat everybody else with equal respect.
You.
But as far as
Mhm.
um, tribalistic things, I think that's a good thing. I think you want to be able to group off and be like, hey, this is my group and that's your group. Treat everybody with respect, yes, no like prejudices or racism or anything like that. I just think of it as good like competition. Like I want to compete against you, so my group is going to compete against your group, and I think that's how, in general, humans advance and how different things advance, how
Sure.
technology
I mean,
advances,
no,
how
absolutely, absolutely.
societies advance,
I
how,
mean, the space race was nothing more than, oh crap, Russia's going for it. We can't let them win. Like literally, that's it.
hmm
Like if U.S. was like, hey, we're going to space, and then the entire rest of the world was like, good luck with that, we would have been like, probably found a million reasons to not launch. You know what I mean? Probably been like, oh, well,
right,
this and then that. But it wasn't. It was because Russia's like, oh, well, guess what? Cool, cool, cool. You go to space, but there's that satellite flying over you. So enjoy that thing. And we're like, now we have to beat them. And again,
right.
continue onward and forth. Computers, everything, all that, iPhone, Android, all of it's about competition. If nobody ever challenged,
That's
the
why monopoly is a bad thing, man.
right. No,
Because if you don't have any
absolutely.
competition, then it's just like you don't just do whatever. Like nobody cares. There's no
Exactly.
competition.
Exactly. It
You kind
does.
of yeah.
It breeds innovation. Sorry, but it does. If you get to a point where you're comfortable, then you're going to be stagnant. And if there's nothing to push you, why are you going to push for the stars? You know what I mean? You're not. So, uh, it is important and
Yeah.
interesting. Before the podcast, you were saying you had something to
I
mention.
just wanted to talk about my whole computer setup here. I'm sure I'm going to bore a lot of people with it, though.
Well, following your remarks, I have an interesting
But
conversation about drugs. So there's that, but not like you may
well,
think. It'll be interesting. Stick around, and find out. Go ahead.
oh really? Ooh, I'm
Yeah,
interested.
yeah.
No, I got a whole new computer.
Hmm.
Not set up. My computer's the same, but I
Oh, I
have
was gonna be
multiple
like dibs on
monitors
your
now.
last graphics card again.
No, no,
Okay, okay.
no. Though it does bum me out that like the PS5 and Xbox One
It's finally gonna have a
X
better graphics
Series or
card than
whatever
yours. Yeah.
is going to be more powerful than me. Yeah. But
Well,
no, I've been trying to like I have my man cave here. That's where I'm recording my podcast, and I'll be able to record podcast, do nerdy computer stuff, and then over here I'm gonna have like another TV with old school like video game systems. Just my
so
man cave, right?
you've got the mega desk in the man cave is what's happening. Dwight would be
I have
proud,
my desk right here with my computer on it,
right?
and I used to have a measly single monitor, right? I was like,
Right.
I want a multiple monitor set up,
Sure.
and it's just so funny. I used to have a monitor that my sister slash brother-in-law, I guess they both whatever they moved to Bangladesh to
What?
teach Krish. I never told you this.
Um,
My
maybe.
sister moved to Bangladesh. I don't
Okay.
really talk about her that much because I don't, whatever. They moved over there to teach Christianity to Bangladeshians. Are they Indians? Or I don't. Do you know how?
Hindu? Would it be Hindu? But my question
Well,
is, how
Hindu
does
would be
that
the
pay?
religion.
How does that pay?
The church. They go like it's through the church. Somehow they got money through donations through a church to go over to Bangladesh, and they go to a school, and they're in the school, and they have like a home apartment that's like housing is provided by this school, and
Wait, so a
maybe
school is
the
paying them to teach Christianity, and the church is helping to keep them there as well? Interesting.
I, I, I don't know the specifics.
Oh, this is
I
just
know
very
they're
curious for me. So, do they have jobs when they come back? Is this a lifetime thing? Are they going to be there forever?
they had like teaching jobs here that they left, so they did not have a job here. They went here to this school over there through the
Hmm.
church,
Okay.
and so they're teaching. I think they're not teaching Christianity. It's a Christian school over there. So they're
Sure. So
over
they're
there with
probably
this Christian
teaching
school
whatever
since
they
they're
normally teach, but it's a
yeah
Christian
they're
academy. It's like a Catholic school, but over there
yeah.
Christian.
So
Okay.
probably the people over there are pay. I don't know
Sure.
exactly how the money works,
Okay.
but
Okay.
they're over there and
But it's still a
they're
teaching gig. So if they come back to America, they're not like, "Hey, we're on hiatus for 12 years." They're like, "No, we've been teaching, but just, over in Bangladesh."
yeah. They're
Okay,
still
copy
teaching
that. I was
stuff
just
over
curious.
in
I'm a
Asia.
future thinker as well, so I was trying to plan that out. Go ahead.
Well, they went over there. I think they were just going to stay for 2 years or whatever, and then come back. Like it was
Okay.
just a 2 year run, but then they
Right.
went through their 2 years and they went back there again. So right now they're over there, and their current plan is like we're going to stay teaching there, and then when the kids turn 18, they're going to come back to the United States so they can get a college education in America.
Hmm.
That's their plan currently,
Okay.
I believe.
All right.
Um, anyway, when they moved out, I acquired this one computer monitor. So
Nice.
I was going to use it, but it stopped working. Like I would plug it in and it would just be like, not today, buddy.
Right.
So I was like, a little bummed out about that. And then randomly, my mom was like, hey, my friend here is getting rid of this TV. A little like 24-inch TV, like a computer monitor sized TV. Do you want
Yeah.
it? And I was like, uh, yeah.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So I got that, and I had it, and I was like, I haven't really done much in my man cave, so I didn't get around to it. And I was about to, and then just randomly at work,
Hmm.
they're like getting rid of computer monitors, like right behind me. They're gonna go throw them away, and the computer, like the IT tech guy, is like, hey, to the person next to me, just want one of these monitors randomly, and she was like, yeah, I'll take it, and I was like, turn around, you getting rid of monitors? And
Nice.
he's like, yeah, you want one? And I was like, yeah, I'll take one.
Sweet.
So I took them out, and I
Three
was like,
for free.
three monitor setup. So
Boom.
I had my old monitor, and it was so hard to. Oh my god, a lot of technical issues with this. I can't even. The TV one kind of
Hmm.
sucked. I'm not gonna lie, because it's only like a 720p
Ooh.
TV,
Okay.
which is small. But when you hook it up through the HDMI on a PC, it registers as a 1080. So it's trying to pump a 1080 signal into a 720 TV, and it just looks blurry. But
It's
even when you change the
crazy.
resolution to the 720 thing, it still just doesn't look right to me. Like you
Sure.
can tell it's not matching the pixels right. And it was like, it's called overscanning. So like the menu bar on the bottom of the TV would be gone because it would be under where the TV was. So I had to figure out how to change that to shrink the TV thing into this monitor and everything.
Right.
And then I was like, yo, I want a game on three monitors at once. So
Yeah.
yeah, I set that up, but this is where it gets really wonky because I realized computer monitors come in a lot of different resolutions. Like the
Oh yeah,
monitor I've
because
been
you've
using,
got lengthwise. Yeah, they're yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
the monitor I've been using for a while. This it's my middle one here. It's not 1080. It's like 1050. It's just shy of an actual like TV thing, which is a weird setup, but not that uncommon for monitors. The TV one, it was the 720, which is a different resolution, and the one from work is a third, like in between those two resolutions that comes in TV monitor. And like I had to find a setting that was on the game that would fit all of them, and it would make my desktop look so wonky. I finally got it to work, and I was like, yeah, gaming on three monitors. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I played a little bit, and you know what I found out?
What?
I focused so much on the center monitor, I could have cared less what was happening on those two side ones. And I was
Not
like,
surprised.
it doesn't really matter at all. Like I
Not
had to do something with
surprised.
my internal video card to get the one monitor to hook up originally, and then I could only use my graphics card on two monitors. I couldn't get the game to work like that, so I found a way to like an adapter to connect all of them to the graphics card, so I could do this three-way gaming
Oh,
thing. And then once I actually got it, I was like, uh, first of all, I don't pay attention to those side monitors too much
right.
when I actually game. Um, and it messes up my desktop like crazy. It just looks so blurry and crappy to get that uniform resolution across all of them that I would only switch it when I'm actually gaming. And third, when I actually game, since now my resolution is multiplied by three, I have to crank all the settings down super low, like to get the game to run at a good speed.
Uh, so now
So
it's hideous.
I was like, yeah, that was cool. Glad I did it. Not worth it.
Right.
And then I have an old TV over here that I was going to set up my old gaming stuff on.
Yeah.
I currently have it cracked open, ripped apart, and I'm going to try to solder some things on my first time really soldering. So,
Nice.
uh, yeah.
And then he's going to
But
make it liquid cooled so we can see how useless that is, too. No, I'm just joking.
yeah, the monitor my sister gave me that didn't work anymore.
Right.
I was gonna crack that one open and make that work until I YouTubed it and I found out it's an Acer monitor, and most of the time when those go bad, it's not the monitor itself at all. It's the AC/DC adapter.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
was
think they're
like,
more Metallica fans, right? I'm just joking. Go ahead.
yeah, man, you need the Metallica adapter. Exactly. Exactly, man. So I got the Metallica adapter and I plugged it into the TV and
Sweet.
it works.
Boom. That's all you
So
needed, man. Little live
seriously though,
lightning.
I actually had another one that fit the TV. Most
Nice.
monitors have like the standard plug, but this Acer one doesn't, and apparently it's trash. So I had
I
by
mean,
chance
it's
when I actually
Acer,
plugged it in.
so that's a
And well,
thing.
I plugged it in and I swapped out the TV one with that monitor, and now it looks a lot better. I don't have to worry about all that wonkiness of the monitor.
Boom. No more
Bottom line is
wonkiness.
I got this sweet three monitor setup now, which is probably
Useless. Just
overkill.
kidding.
Probably, yeah,
Unless
probably. I don't
unless you're
even need
trying
three
to write
monitors.
like a college thesis or something, man. Maybe it's just a reason to go back to school. Boom. Do that.
I'm not
I
gonna
don't
lie,
know.
two monitors is nice, but three seems a little overkill.
You could
Unless
you could just
you're
turn into a
streaming a podcast, and
yeah.
then it becomes it's
Boom.
super handy.
See? Or you could be like a DM, that's a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons, and you could just have all
Yeah,
three screens. You could have your spells and your monster book, and you just have it all there, three screens. You know what? You might make a lot of people jealous. Boom. That could
it
happen.
comes in. I'm not gonna lie, when you have a reference thing. So right now we're streaming our podcast. Now we're starting to stream it. So for those who are listening to this on any podcast thing, um, well, it's going to be twitch.tv/ the Eric Hunter podcast, but right now we're streaming on YouTube because we got to work out the technical kinks.
Yeah, man. It's
But
always
I have,
kinks.
yeah, I have the stream going on one monitor so I can just see whatever anybody's writing, make sure that's going good over there. You're not
Mhm.
playing any music over our words right now, are you?
Not today. I'm gonna save that for next time.
I got this little monitor over here that's just monitoring us talking, so when I have it set up, that'll be the mic, and I got my main one here. I can surf the internet while
Boom.
you tell a boring story about drugs. So
Yeah, man.
I was just messing.
Not a
It
boring story.
it does come in handy though for reference stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm pumped
my
to see if I
tablet
can
does
actually.
that too, though. Not to rain all over your parade, but you know.
I know you can do it on like a regular monitor too, but I mean you got a full monitor dedicated to each thing. It's nice. Um, I'm
No,
pumped though
yeah,
to see if I can actually fix this TV. It's my old TV.
yeah,
Uh,
man. Bring
my
it back
old
to life.
thing. It's LG. It had one of those issues where like you would turn it on and it would like, okay, I think I'll turn on about 20 minutes later. So you'd have to like let the
Yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah.
heat
It'd warm
up.
up forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if I can fix it. So stay tuned. I'll tell you more about how that process goes
Do, 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 do.
in the
Be
next
in later.
podcast. It's interesting. It
Figure
seems
out.
promising because I saw something and it's like on this TV a lot of times it's capacitors go bad, which apparently is an issue with a lot of electronics.
It's usually the
Um,
flux capacitor, though. So all you just need
yeah,
is a
they
little
start to.
plutonium, and you're good to go.
Yeah, yeah. So I just need to jack them up with some more plutonium and see if
Yeah,
it
man. You
works.
just got to get some plutonium. Just don't let the Libyans know where you're at if you're going to steal any of their plutonium.
I mean,
They're not going to be happy about it.
if you can time travel, what's it
Just saying.
matter?
Just saying. I saw a meme today that said, you need to run into a store and go, "What year is it?" And when they answer, just say, "It worked," and run out of the store. I'm like, that's
Right.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. I think that's a good practical joke. I enjoy those kinds where nobody's.
I think as a kid I've tried to do that, and it just didn't
Yes.
pay off.
Well,
Like
because you
not
were
in a
a
store.
kid,
I'd be like, yeah, yeah, because I was a kid. I don't think I
right?
did it in a store. I think I did it like with my parents or something like that. Like I'd come out of my bedroom, like,
Right.
what year is it? And they'd be like,
Right. They're
what?
just like,
Are
oh
you?
gosh, we raised an idiot. How did we have? Are you sure this is our son?
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but yeah, and also you're a kid, so nobody cares, and they just always think you're dumb and have nothing important to say. So that's
yeah.
not really.
You're like, it works, and run off, and they're like,
They're like, great kid.
anyway, as I was saying, to like,
Right. Exactly. Nobody's gonna take stock of it. But if it's some dude, like you should even look like more businessy. But I thought it'd be funny if you
Yeah,
just threw in something that looks like very normal with just something slightly off, so there's just enough jarring. You know what I mean? To where they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait, that was kind of a little weird. He seemed normal, but now that I think about it, you know what I mean? His front
Like a
pocket,
weird,
whatever, I don't
yeah,
know. You know what I mean? Just something, maybe a weird
something,
tie. I don't
something.
know. Go something, just
I like
enough that they're
the
like, oh man, that was a little bizarre.
I like the memes that are like just to see what people's reaction were. Like my the one I like is like get an empty car a can't get an empty jar of mayonnaise and fill it up with like vanilla pudding and just start
Oh yeah,
eating
yeah. Start
it.
eating it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen stuff like that. That's amazing.
And then
Or
like
the
another one
Windex
was like
bottles with the Gatorade. Have you seen that?
no,
Yeah, you
I
empty
haven't
the
seen that one.
Windex bottles and put like just blue Gatorade in there, so it
I
looks like
saw I
you're.
saw one that was like I'm gonna go to the gym and take like a Hershey syrup bottle and fill it up with like water and just
Oh
start
yeah,
drinking out of it. It's
that'd be
insane.
amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I like
Um,
those kind of things.
hold
But
on one
anyway,
sec. I
yeah,
have to stop a
drugs.
cat. Hold on one second. Be
Oh,
right
okay.
back.
Well, we're doing the live podcast thing, so while he's running off and stopping a cat, I have to keep on talking and entertain everybody. His cat's name, I believe, is Smokey. He liked to name him Smokey because I'm gonna guess he's the color of smoke. But that's hard because smoke's so many different colors. Ah, boring stuff. Boring stuff. Anybody who's listening, um, I was gonna try to plug the podcast and tell you where you could find it, but you already know if you're already listening, so that's boring. I guess he's got a story about drugs
The
that he's
best
going to
thing
tell right
about
now.
smoke being multiple colors is smoky is indeed many colors of gray, blacks, and browns, thus looking like smoke. So yeah, exactly.
I
Perfecto.
can't wait until I can get better at that. Oh my
Yeah.
God, Joe Rogan does it, and I'll be like, he's gone. What can I talk about?
You
Oh
start
no.
panicking, which is the funniest part because when I'm not there, you can talk for 7 minutes without me saying a dang thing.
Yeah,
But now that you know I'm gone, you're like, Joe, what if I fail? It's hilarious. I know it's weird, right? And then you also
yeah.
have
No,
to try and make it
I'm
sound
pretty
like
good
you're
at that.
still talking to someone too. So it's not just like,
I know, man. I was gonna go to the anybody like you can listen to the Eric Hunter podcast, and I realize how stupid that is. Like anybody who's
right.
listening already knows where they can find it. Like, and I
Especially
don't want to
like
be that
right
like,
now,
please
right now, right
subscribe and
now.
follow.
Yeah, one
Come
of
on, it's such
those
out of
losers.
place.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
don't want to do that. This 49-year-old woman Okay, she's 49. She contracted Lyme disease in her early
Okay.
20s. What it did is it damaged her foot and ankles. It left her with significant pain. As such, she was taking like morphine for
Lots
it.
of drugs. Got it.
No, she was on morphine because apparently it was a lot of
Pain.
pain. So she ended up overdosing um on LSD.
On
Pure LSD. She thought it was cocaine. All right, so she thought she was about to snort cocaine. It turns out it was pure LSD. So it was 550 times the normal like recreational use. So like super OD'd on it, like super OD'd on this thing, right? Like a normal dose, I guess, is like
like
a
100 times
hundred.
more than that would like you would OD on. Like it was OD times 100 kind of thing.
Yeah, it was OD times 550 times. So yeah, like it
Well,
was
I mean,
insane.
550 is like you're doing good. I mean,
So like
ODing would be like twice that, probably. I don't know.
no,
I
so
don't
all
know
right,
how.
so I'll put it this way. Okay, well if you want it like that, okay, so she took 100 micrograms, which is equivalent to zero point 0.1 milligrams. Okay, excuse me, that's what a normal recreational dose is, quote unquote. Okay,
Point
she
one. Okay.
she took 55 milligrams. Okay, I just told you zero point
Uh,
0.1
point one,
is
which is
normal, and
whatever.
she
I'm
took
sure there's some crazy dudes that'll be
55.
like, nah, I do like one. But
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
55. That's, yeah.
55. All right. So if that helps you, so you know what I'm saying. There you go in numbers for you. All right. So apparently she blacked out, right? What? No way. She blacked out. She
Okay.
vomited frequently for 12 hours, right? She said, but after that 12 hours, apparently she was feeling pleasantly high for the next 12, still vomiting, but less often. I don't know how any of that would be pleasant, but okay. All right. So then
You're
apparently,
just vibing. You know what that reminds me of? A Dane Cook like stand-up comedy thing when he's
right?
talking about throwing up, and he's like, "Hey, it sucks. Nobody likes throwing up, but
Right.
there's just this one little part of you that's like, I'm like a fire-breathing dragon right now."
I've never thought that, but that's pretty funny. I like that.
So in her mind, she was a
She's probably
fire-breathing
like, I'm
dragon.
pleasantly high. So she apparently sat in a chair, like mostly still with her eyes open. Sometimes they'd roll back. She'd like just speak randomly. And then 10
Yeah.
hours later, she was coherent, right? So then the next day,
So
her
this is like 12 hours of throwing up and 8 hours of
no, 12 hours of
throwing up.
vomiting, 12 hours of less vomiting with pleasant highness.
Uh
And
huh.
then but I don't know if it's 12, 12, and then 10. But see, because the 10-hour thing comes from the roommate, so maybe she was only aware of it for 10 hours. I don't know the exact time.
I'm just trying to get how long this
Eyewitness.
whole
Either
process was
either
going
way,
on.
let's just say it's a day and a half. I mean, let's just round up. Why not? Okay.
A day straight of vomiting, half of it was
So
pleasant, and another half a day of
yeah, and
incoherentness. Yeah, okay.
and then the next day she had no foot pain whatsoever. It was completely gone. It stopped. She stopped using morphine. She was good. There was no problems. After about a week, the pain started to return, but she started using a much lower dose of morphine, and apparently she continued every 3 days to use a microdose of LSD. Um, and after more than 2 years, she has stopped using both morphine and LSD and no withdrawal symptoms. Period. She's completely off of it. No pain. She's had pain for 29 years. Gone. ODN on LSD. Crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Well, you
That's not
said
all.
she was.
Hmm.
Okay, continue then.
That's all for her. Do you have more questions about her?
Oh, you were saying that's not all, so I was just wondering about. Um,
Uh huh.
I don't know what the rest of your thing is, but it's after you said she OD'd and then she was microdosing with LSD, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it said that she was microdosing for a little bit after
I
that.
was just for those who don't know, microdosing would be taking a super small amount of a drug that it doesn't really have any getting you high effects, but you have other effects that people believe to be health benefits off of those drugs. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just wondering if like you took the whole like super ODing off the LSD factor out of it and you just started like microdosing people with LSD that had the kind of foot pain, if it would have the same results or not?
Well, so that's what's interesting, because in the 60s and the 70s there was a lot of government testing of LSD and everything, and they were doing experiments and whatnot. But obviously they were
Yeah.
never allowed to do experiments with this high level. The only way you could really have this is compiled in a journal. We have two more cases I'm going to talk about. That's why I said there's not all. These have been compiled in a journal, and they say the only way you really can measure something like this is in its natural, if you would, state, meaning someone naturally did it to themselves, because you can't ethically be like, okay, we're going to give you 550 times the
Right.
recreational amount. Hold
Let's
on
hope
to
you
your
live.
britches. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do stuff like that ethically. You can't do it. So when
And
these
even if you, let's be honest, even if you could ethically do that, you'd probably end up like killing half your, like more than half the people you're trying
which
to
is
test stuff with.
something that well, okay, with half the stuff you say, but in reference specifically to LSD, it's interesting because there are no documented deaths of overdosing with LSD. They say that they
Really?
figure the lethal dosage that would be required to overdose with LSD was like 14,000 micrograms. So
We said she took 55 grams.
she took 550 milligrams. So a microgram, right? A microgram we mentioned earlier, so that she took 100 micrograms, which is zero point 0.1 milligrams. Okay.
Okay.
So
I'm a
14,000.
dumb English measuring system guy. So I know a gram and I know a milligram, but a microgram would be one down from milligram.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
she would have to, so the lethal
So
dose is what, 14,000 or
1,000
something?
micrograms, right? So 100 micrograms equals zero point 0.1 milligrams. Okay.
But you
So
just
you
take
need.
off the two zeros for
So
grams. It would be
right.
like,
There you go. So 14,000 micrograms is what they figure is a lethal dose. But anyway, there's no one's ever died from overdosing on LSD. Again, this lady 550 times the normal amount. There's this 15-year-old girl. She overdosed 10 times, so not as much, but still a lot, especially for a 15-year-old. So she had bipolar. She suffered from, at the age of 12, she was diagnosed with it. She had depressions and like hallucinations and stuff, right? From like the age of 12. This is pre-LSD
mhm.
hallucinations. Anyway,
I would hope so.
uh, right. They literally put her in the hospital. I guess she was in the hospital for a while because one time she like bit her mother in one of the hallucinations. Again, this is all just from her bipolar. Um, so what happened was she was at a party, and I guess they
Hmm.
were diluting the LSD in water. And again, these home medics are so awesome. He messed up the decimal point, so instead of putting 100 micrograms in the water, he put 1,000 micrograms in the water.
So it's like microgram or
Or millet, like what
gram.
you just did. He's like, I'm a dumb English American that doesn't understand the metric system. 100, 1,000, I'll just drop a zero. I don't know. All right, made
He's
these
like
up.
a microgram. That's the same as a milligram, right? Right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, no. If it's
So
100 times, he would literally just go to the gram. He's like micro. No, I see gram. Let's just grams, right?
right, just
Something
whatever
like
it
that.
is. We're good. So she drinks this whole thing. She was at the party, and I guess she got another cup and drank some of it. So they don't know precisely how much she took, but at least 10 times the again recreational amount, which I don't know who comes up with
Right.
it. Whatever. So apparently she's the partygoers. There was like she was really erratic for like the next 6.5 hours, and then they thought she was having a seizure. And then she was laying on the floor in a fetal position, arms in her fist, like clenching tightly. So they're like, oh crap, this is bad. We're calling an ambulance. They called the ambulance. But by the time the paramedics showed up, it was about 10 minutes later. She was chill, up, alert, oriented. Um, and of course, they still take her to the hospital. Obviously, she just OD'd, and she's a 15-year-old. They're lucky they didn't call the cops. I don't. Maybe they did. I don't know. This story doesn't say it. Who cares? So I mean,
Side note, though,
so
I
many people were
think
okay.
when somebody gets like, I don't think they should call the cops necessarily for people ODing.
It depends. It
Uh,
depends what, when, where, how, why. Lots of times they don't. I don't know. It's a big,
I
long
just don't think
story.
they should because I think a lot of times that would prevent people from seeking
It
medical
does.
attention out of
Well, and that's
fear
part of it.
of the
Well, there is a
consequences.
thing where you can't get in trouble specifically yourself. But yeah, there's a whole thing. I really don't want to go into. I want to jump back to this story. I
Yeah,
don't
most
want to
people
lose the
don't know that.
point.
They'd be like, I don't want to get in trouble. Just wait it out. I don't know that that's the best solution.
No, no, you always call. No one gets the cops called on them. Okay, so arms clenched, paramedics arrive 10 minutes later. She's alert, she's oriented. Her father comes to visit her at the hospital the next morning, and she's like, "It's over." That's all she says to her dad. And at first, he's like, "Oh, the overdose, LSD trip, cool, it's over." And later, she clarified. She said, "No, no, I meant the bipolar illness. It's cured." She said, "It's gone. I have a normal brain." And she was free from all mental illness syndromes until she was 26 years old.
Hmm. So it came
And
back.
when she got postpartum depression after having a baby, it brought it
So completely
back.
unrelated. Oh no, she had postpartum depression that brought back
That
the
brought back her
bipolar.
bipolar.
Uh,
But completely
Interesting.
gone and cured for, what's that, 12, 10, 10, 11 years? 11 years?
I'd be I'd be interested to know if she got rid of the postpartum depression and what that did for the bipolar disorder.
I don't know.
Like if she got rid of the PTSD, right? Basically,
Right.
I think it's a little different, but whatever.
So no, but
I just
that's
don't
what they
have to
want
say
to.
postpartum depression every time. But if she like fixes that, is that going to
It's
fix the bipolar,
PPD.
or is it just PPD? Is that going to fix the bipolar, or is it going to stay there? And then if she didn't have that, would she still be cured? Hmm. Interesting questions. I don't.
I don't know. I don't know, but so it's interesting. And then the third case isn't as remarkable as the first two. But apparently there was another girl at that same party with Captain Kickass, dosing appropriately.
Right.
Why? And this chick was 26. Why is there 13-year-olds and 26-year-olds anyway at this party? Gosh, this world's crazy. Um, well, she found out like a week later that she was pregnant,
Mhm.
and it says, however, the baby was not negatively harmed. It says it did not have negatively affect the course of her pregnancy, nor did it have any other obvious negative developmental effects on her son, now 18. No problems whatsoever. So, that was not as miraculous. But and I'm not saying the other ones are miracles. It does also mention the article, obviously, not to try and experiment and do any of this stuff because it's dumb. But it's interesting because I find like right now they're finding out about all this stuff about CBD oils, and that's a class one narcotic or class one drug, and so is LSD.
Mhm.
In the 60s, the government was like, that stuff's terrible.
Mhm.
We don't even know what it does. So, but now
What's
with these
interesting is like
cases.
I haven't even heard of the term CBD until like maybe what like 2 years ago or something like that. I was like, what even is that? And they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh no, it's the part of marijuana that's like it's not the THC, it's this other one. I'm like, well, I was aware there's other stuff, but like I didn't.
Well,
And it's like,
interestingly
no,
enough,
this is
too,
the stuff that
though.
does all this other stuff. And I'm like, huh. But
Well,
I'm just saying, it's interesting that like it wasn't really a thing at all until like very recently.
it's multiple reasons for that, but also CBD. Just to anyone, I don't know if you know, it doesn't have to come from marijuana. You can also get off the hemp plant. So a hemp plant
Hemp plant,
is.
yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
get me
Okay,
wrong.
well,
Here's the thing. If any, I was talking to somebody today about CBD and stuff. And interestingly enough, you got to be careful where you buy your CBD from. So again, I just told you it can be grown in hemp. Hemp is used to clean toxins out of the dirt. Over in China, they use it a lot to to clean and to pull the toxins out of the dirt so they can reuse it to grow and plant and do all this stuff. So the problem is if you're buying some CBD products, I see them at gas stations and stuff. I'm not promoting CBD either way, but I'm telling you, if you're buying them at gas stations, you might be getting stuff that's made from this hemp that they're using to cleanse their earth. You don't know what kind of toxins, what kind of nasty things are in there.
So
Like
they're
you're gonna
taking the
want to
hemp
go.
plant and cleaning a bunch of toxins and then squeezing out the CBD and selling it to you.
I mean, quite, yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that stuff has happened. It does happen. You don't know where it's coming from. So honestly, if you're going to get into that kind of stuff, do your research, and you probably want to go with something organic. I was just talking to somebody because I was like, it still seems I don't have enough information to really have a big conversation with you about CBD. I'm still investigating, learning more. I know lots of people that swear by it, but just my aspect being that I'm just throwing that out there. Cautionary: one, it can come from hemp. Hemp is used to purify and bring minerals back from the earth and pull out heavy metals and heavy toxins from the ground. So you might want to be careful where you're getting your CBD oil from, because you may also be getting a nice heavy dose of lead or whatever else. I don't know.
Mercury or
Or who knows what else? Who knows? So yeah, just anyway, buyer beware, I
well, you
guess.
should really honestly do your research for any kind of stuff like that.
Oh, most definitely. But the problem
Honestly,
the
and like
problem
most
is
people don't.
because, well, and the thing is, this is falling under the same thing as a supplement. So it's basically like all your GNC product, which means the FDA doesn't look at it. It's not paying attention to it. But because people are seeing it pop everywhere, and they're like, oh, well, if it's everywhere, then it must be something that's completely wonderful. I'm not saying it's
Good, yeah.
bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's not regulated. So buyer beware and do some research, guys. That's all I'm saying. I haven't done enough research, so I don't know where I stand with it. So supplements. So many of them have been proven to
think
be
it's
bad.
interesting.
So yeah, no, it's all in.
A lot of people swear by it, but
Yeah, I know a lot of people that swear by it too. And apparently there's another version of CBD, which is a younger strain, which you can pull off the hemp plant before it synthesizes into CBD, which is CBG. And apparently it has a lot of the positive effects, but of CBD, but some other ones too. I don't know. So anyway, there's some
well,
interesting things out there. There's a lot to learn. I was just
actually
really
have a thing.
interested by these LSD cases because I think that's insane.
Yeah, no, they're super interesting. That's one of the things. I was gonna say I have a thing on like CBD oil right here that I remember that. Oh yeah, I started taking that because Karina's mom took it for something for her knee or something, and then whatever. And they're like, oh, it's supposed to help with like anxiety and stuff. And I was like, well, let me see if it does anything for because I have social anxiety.
Sure.
Let's see if it does anything thing for that. And I took it for a little while, like a couple days or whatever. And I'm like, I don't notice any difference. I was like, well, no. Okay, you got to be taking it for a really long period of time. I was like, I don't know. I think I should be feeling something by now. And then I see other things where people be like, well, I take it to really help with anxiety, but you don't take the recommended amount. You got to take like 5 times. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not about to start doing all that stuff, man. I'm not going to be sitting here
My
like.
my other problem is a lot of the CBD stuff almost feels like a pyramid scheme type thing. Years ago, I had this guy who was trying to sell me this stuff. It was this drink you were supposed to take, and it was caught from algae off of Fiji, and it's a special algae, and it's blah blah blah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
anti-aging. It does this millions of things, right? And I buy it, and I buy bottles, and if I get people under me to buy bottles, and blah blah blah, blah, and you're gonna make all this money, plus you're healthy, and so I feel like I'm leery because I feel like this CBD thing has a lot of that feel to it as well. Because the same thing, this guy was telling me this stuff helped with diabetes or cured diabetes and like all this stuff. And that's what you hear about CBD. Like CBD is apparently like God's greatest miracle drug if you listen to them, and it cures and everything's taken away. And I'm obviously over talking about it, and I'm not downplaying CBD, but I'm just saying like I feel like some people may be
You're
using
very
it as a
skeptical of
pyramid
it.
scheme.
Like,
I'm not even skeptical. I'm just looking at all sides of it. I think there are benefits to it. I know 100% for a fact because I've talked to neurologists that we do have chemoreceptors in our
receptors.
brain, as
Yeah.
cannabinoid receptors in our brain. So there is something to it. I'm not saying that, but I don't know that it's the wonder drug they're claiming it to be. And I also, I think there's more research that needs to be done on it.
I
So.
think most of these wonder drugs that come out are like, okay, they're good for like one or two things, but they're not what everybody's like, oh, it's the best thing ever. It's going to cure everything. It's
And,
going to
right. And,
it's going to end world hunger and there's going to be world
exactly.
peace.
Well,
All we
and
need
that's
is
the
this.
funny thing is they've had that forever. It used to be snake oil salesman, right? It's such a good running gag, but we still have that to this very day. And I'm not saying CBD is that. I'm really not. But I'm
Nah,
just
it's
saying
like going to
nothing can.
GNC, man. You'll
Right,
see
yeah.
it all
Oh,
over.
absolutely. Acai berries were the biggest thing in the world 10 years ago.
It's
You
so
know what I
funny. I
mean?
was gonna
And
mention those too. I was gonna be like,
right,
you remember those?
right. It
I
was
thought they were
geek,
called like Aki or whatever. They
whatever,
were like the
however you want to say it. Yeah,
miracle, whatever. And this is
yeah.
this is the greatest
And
thing
before
ever, and now
that, it
you
was
like try to
ginkgo
look for that
biloba.
stuff today. You'd be like, I don't. What happened to these things?
I mean, you can still
It's
get it in smoothies and stuff, but it's not all over the world like it was then. I mean, you were buying fruit wraps
now
and
it's because you like the flavor. It's not because you think it's gonna give you any health benefits.
right,
It's
right,
just
right. Ginkgo biloba when they did it with that. I mean, they just always do it. So again, there's probably some merit to CBD. There has to be just for the fact that there really is literally a receptor in your brain meant to receive it. So there has to be something positive that can come from it. I don't know what it is. I,
maybe not positive. It's just something comes from it. But yeah,
It'd be weird that you'd have a chemical. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna get it because I don't. Again, I don't have enough information. I don't want to put too much out there. The little bit of information I did have, I shared with you. Just be careful where you're buying this crap. Even you specifically, I guess, if you're using it, just be careful because.
I just did it once, like a while ago.
Yeah.
Not once, but like I tried it for a little bit, and it's like,
All right, and that's what I mean. I mean, it's like castor oil. If you talk to people that grew up in like the 1920s, 1930s, and I know it's getting harder and harder now. There's so few of them left. But castor oil, they believe that they would take that every morning, every night. It kept them regular. Like there's all these millions of benefits that's for it. It's not the worst thing in the world. It could probably help you a little bit, but it doesn't do everything that they thought it was. It's happened in the entire longevity of man. I'm sure cavemen had a mint leaf they would sell to people to chew on, which, healed
this
everything.
mint leaf works, gets you all the women.
Yeah.
Really, it's just because you had fresh breath, man.
Right, exactly. Guaranteed to attract women. Pheromones. No, but you know what I mean? I'm just sure. So anyway, I don't know. We really digressed into an interesting thing. That's why I love podcasts. It's fun to see where it will take us. But I don't know. I just think there's a lot out there in the world. That's what I've just been. I'm at this point of discovery in my life, and I've always been a thirst for knowledge. I love science. I love learning. But I'm at this point in my life where I'm just starting to realize there's so much out there that we don't know, and we have all these people standing around who are quote unquote experts telling us that like
I think
this is this and that is that. But when you start looking around, man, there's so much stuff we don't know or understand, and we've just hidden it or stopped paying attention to it just because it made us uncomfortable. And we need to start looking at some stuff, man. Like, I don't know.
what really, really highlights that for me. So now that I'm getting up there not that I'm up there, I'm still
No,
young,
but
but
you just have some
older.
perspective.
I
Yeah,
have like perspective over time.
right.
I'll be looking at whatever. I'm really interested in like the human body kind of stuff and space kind of stuff.
Oh
Not so
yeah,
much this interest. This doesn't apply so much to like space and physics, but like just we're on the subject about CBD and benefits for the body. I like a lot of nutrition stuff. I just like the knowledge of it, just
yeah.
understanding how the human body works. And there's things that I'd be like learning lately or, relatively recently, but like I don't remember ever hearing anything about this. This is just BS. And then I realize it's not BS. It's just 20 years ago when I was like a teenager and nobody was talking about it, it's because nobody knew about it. Like it's
Right.
literally something we've recently learned. Like I'm thinking specifically of like the gut flora and stuff in your
Sure.
stomach and how the bacteria is what causes you to have cravings for specific things. It's not really like it's sending like all that stuff. Like yeah,
Which is
I
funny
could buy that,
because yeah,
but
because a lot of
we
people are
didn't.
always like, listen to your body. Whatever your body's telling you is what it needs. No, you created that in your gut that your body's telling you that you need
Yeah,
because you made it.
yeah, it's just interesting. I find that kind of stuff super interesting. I was like, I never heard about like this before. Why not? And it's because well, nobody knew about it before, and just
Right.
that perspective of going through time of us not knowing something like that to knowing something like that really goes. Man, if we don't even know how our stomach works, like
Well, and
forget about
that's
the brain. Like,
yeah. Oh, no, and that's
it's-
exactly what I was talking about. It wasn't a guy. It was in the 50s. You could buy from your nurse cigarettes. They would write cigarette prescriptions for asthma. Like I got
for
hello in the
asthma,
50s. No joke. I swear to you, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So my
got a
point is,
cough,
is
cover it up with this tar.
right,
It'll
right. Yeah.
work.
Well, it's funny because I saw like stand-up comedian. I can't remember. Oh, he was that funny guy. I can't think of his name. He was in Crazy Rich Asians. Anyway, he was talking about. He's like in the not too distant future, people are gonna be like, "You let your kids internet? Like, do you know how unhealthy that is? You know what I mean? Because like this internet is such a strange thing,
Right.
and like But anyway, it just brings me back to the same thing that like cigarettes 50 years ago. We know so little and we pretend like we know so much and we pretend like we have all these experts that know so much. But all the leading experts in the medical field were prescribing cigarettes for asthma. I mean, because it made you stop coughing. Yeah, it did.
Mm,
I
well,
bet.
I just thought about something here. Going back a little bit, maybe it wasn't the most honest thing with people. I think the medical field's, I don't know, I hear a lot of things about pharmaceuticals and prescriptions and stuff. Maybe the cigarette companies were paying doctors to write the prescriptions or something like that. I don't know.
No, because it
That's a
wasn't
whole
started in
different
the
story, though.
50s. It went back all the way to the 1800s. Literally, tuberculosis. One of the things they thought was smoking would help, but a drier climate and smoking. Like there was literally all these things that they would do.
Oh, they like
It,
burning out of your lungs or something?
like it's just
Like,
it's old school. Like literally, it was
all right,
smoking was a
maybe,
cure for lots of
maybe.
things. In fact,
But
Coca-Cola, the same reason it was forever sold in pharmacies is because for a while when soda first came out, but specifically Coca-Cola, it was sold as a medicine. It was used to supposedly treat an upset stomach. Not even kid.
Well,
That's why you could
yeah,
only
I
buy it
mean,
at
no, 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 no,
pharmacies.
no, no, no. Yeah, yeah. The beginning of Coca-Cola and most sodas was started as a pharmaceutical thing to
Right,
begin with. It was a medicine before it
right,
was a soda,
right.
and then they started adding the
Right,
fizzy water.
syrupy, fizzy water, and then the
They
other reason it
Well, it was
stayed at
just
the
the syrup, and they would
pharmacy.
add it to water, and then somebody added it to the carbonated water, and they were like, "That tastes pretty good,"
Right,
and they started drinking it just normally,
right.
and that's how that all started. Yeah.
Exactly, but medicine. Exactly. So that's why it's just funny because we sit here and we have all these experts and we know all these things, but then in
Fun
the end,
fact that I never knew before.
none
Do you
of
know
it.
why Coca-Cola is the color that it is?
Oh, no, I did, but I can't remember. I literally saw something about this recently, but go ahead, enlighten us.
Well, now you put me on a spot. I might be wrong, but I heard they colored it like that brown color because it made it look more like a tea, which is
Oh,
like
really? I
custom to
don't think I
something
heard
that
that.
other
Hmm.
people would drink, like as a beverage.
Sure.
Like, oh, I'm familiar with that kind of color as a beverage, so I'll
Interesting.
drink it. Yeah,
Brown, of
makes me
all the
wonder what it
things to
is
pick.
without the coloring in it. Like,
It's
probably looks
probably
like
it's probably like a cirrusy color, I would think, honestly.
I would think. You ever look at like a monster, like the color of a monster
Yeah.
drink?
Yeah.
They can pour it out. It looks like
Like a amber almost.
it doesn't look good, man. It looks like it's like rusty water to me or something. I'm like, that's not
Yeah, you don't put
appetizing.
it down on ice and go,
You
yeah,
know,
that's going
I
down.
imagine Coca-Cola probably looks something like that, and they were like, this is darkening up a little bit.
Oh, I didn't realize Monster was bottled in Flint, Michigan. No. Oh, too
Right.
soon? Too soon? Sorry, guys.
Fun
Yeah,
fact.
yeah,
Everybody talks about Flint, Michigan,
sure.
but that is not the worst water in the
Oh, I
country.
know that. I did know that,
Do you
but
know
go
one of the
ahead.
places that has worse water than Michigan?
Pennsylvania, duh. Where else?
Pennsylvania, specifically Allentown. Not that I
Yeah,
live in Allentown, but I live very close. So
yeah.
it's like a personal, like,
Every time someone
I,
says Flint, you're like, Allentown.
I'm like, Allentown's worse.
Yeah, but
You
here's
know,
the
it's
thing.
pretty close to home.
Yeah, but
Like,
see, but Billy Joel wrote a song about Allentown. He didn't write one about Flint, Michigan. So just deal with it, man.
yeah.
You got a
I
song.
mean,
So
Allentown's even got a song. Oh, okay. Okay, I
that's
see what
what
you're
you
saying.
said.
I
That's
see
what
what
you
you're saying.
said. Yeah,
Everybody
man.
needs their spotlight.
Yeah, man. Little spotlights for some Flint, man. What it
Yeah.
is. Poster child for poor children. That little
Mm-hmm.
fox on the screen's quite cute. I read another thing recently too. This lady had to have a liver transplant or whatever, and they went to do the blood tests and all this, and she had tons of alcohol in her system, and she swears she didn't drink. Turns out there's this really rare condition where your bladder turns into a brewery, and she was literally creating alcohol in her own bladder. I didn't get to
I
read the
saw
whole
something
article.
like that, but it was with a guy, and I don't think it was in his bladder. I thought it was his intestines. I didn't read the article. I just saw like a glimpse of it, like a title, and I thought it was
Hmm.
one of those clickbaity things or
No,
something.
no, this is a real thing. I read it, but not enough in depth to like retell the story. Plus, it was I don't know 2 weeks ago or
It
something.
was one of
But
those like guy's intestine and makes his own beer or something like that. I don't know. And I kind of
oh,
glimpsed over it, and it was like some kind of
that's gross.
was it bacteria or something ferments anything that he eats,
Yeah, she had the
something
same
like
type
that.
of thing in her bladder. It was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I mean though. The body's interesting. You know what I mean? Like we
Oh,
just
this is a weird picture. Anyway,
I
go
don't know
on.
what you're looking at. You never know. You know, the body's
Well,
interesting.
you're looking at the real time, man. I'm looking at the like whatever the delay is on the.
It's not that long of a delay, I'm noticing. It's actually quite short.
It's not. It's a couple of seconds or whatever.
Yeah. It's probably
There was
5
one weird.
seconds.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
Cool.
Right, so.
That's it for me. I don't know. Do you have anything else? Should we end it
I think
here?
we're good, yeah. I feel like this is a natural stopping point.
Running out of steam here. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. It's
Shorter
about
one, that's okay.
podcast length. That's fine.
Boom.
Hopefully.
That's it. Time for our awkward outro. Here we go.
Not quite. I was going to say next week you're not going to be available, correct?
No, but we could release one of the previously recorded but never uploaded.
So,
what?
Yeah, fun fact, there's a total of, I believe, 3
three
uploaded at all episodes.
Boom.
And there's an entire season that was not
properly uploaded,
properly submitted to the podcast feed. You could still go to the blog post that nobody does and listen to it. So I think what I do next week is I'll just upload one of those missing season 3 ones real quick, and I should kick it over to the feed.
Yeah, man. Just hit that up, and we'll tag it on the Facebook page too.
Like 2-year-old podcast. So if you made it this far and you're going to listen to the next one, and you're like, why are they talking about whatever? And that's going to be why.
Yeah, it's probably like No Man's Sky or something. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And I'm going to try to work out some technical kinks, and hopefully the next recorded podcast, which should be in 2 weeks, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that one should hopefully have a better audio quality.
Yeah. We're getting things back in the swing. We just had to get it going, and with anything, if you don't start a habit, if you don't jump on it while the iron's hot, it fizzles and dies out. So we're just, whatever it takes to get it up, we're doing it, and we'll get it fine-tuned back to the, it only can go uphill, you know what I mean? We just keep getting better and better. So there's that. Boom.
All right, time for the awkward outro.
There we go. And we're out.
Oh, you just ended it? Just like that?
No, man. Go ahead. Do it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have an outro. I think I did actually come up with a good one near the end, though. And I was like, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and send us emails at erichunterpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
For the record, that still exists. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email me.
Also, if you have fun stories or something, you want to get on here, you want to do a live stream with us, we can toss people in. If you want to send us funny stories we can read, we can do that. Interact with while we're still doing some of these live streams. Interact with us on the chats. We do have them up. We are watching them. It's fun. It's exciting.
Shout out to Joe in the stream here. I see you watching us.
Get it, Joe. All right.
Peace out.
Thanks. Bye. And scene.
Oh, that's actually perfect. Yeah.
Perfect time.
Open up the door. Somebody knocked.
They're knocking on heaven's door.